Okay, welcome back. So, restart our session. We have seen all the impact of the British economic policies, beginning from the drain of wealth to commercialization of agriculture, then destruction of handicraft industries, and then growth of agricultural labor, and then subsequently rural indebtedness. So, altogether, combinedly, both the things we call development of underdevelopment. Development of underdevelopment. So, the areas had already, the village economy had got it, mainly because of the rise of agricultural labor, large scale depeasantization. Then, in the next stage of the British economic policies, let's talk about the stages of colonialism. I have discussed the stages of colonialism for you. That colonialism is a stage when the exploitation of territory was made to benefit the mother country. So that means India became victim of British conquest policy in order to serve the economic interest of Britain. And this is the fundamental which actually served the purpose of colonialism. So I told you that without imperialism, colonialism not possible, and colonialism only for to benefit the mother country. This is how you define the imperialism and colonialism, both the sense. So both have the same objective and same effect. So ever since British turned into political power, that is 1757, there are three stages of colonialism. First stage is called the stage of mercantilism. Stage of mercantilism. So stage of mercantilism, generally you understand that when the government itself involved in the profit making. So here 1757 to 1813, the economic policy was mainly related to what? The trade and land revenue. Trade and land revenue. This is the main facets of economy, trade and the land revenue. Company was not at all involved in any other activities. Trade means purchasing of Indian handicraft. Purchasing of Indian handicraft. Trade. Land revenue, that is altogether related to permanent settlement, Mahalbari settlement, Rayatbari settlement. So British had implemented many types of land revenue administration. And in all the administrative system, you will find the rate of land revenue sometimes exceeds to 50%. So that was a big effort going on. So permanent settlement, many methods of land revenue system was implemented. We will discuss about all these settlements in detail. But right now, you understand only one thing, that the trade and the land revenue was the main source of economy. In this phase, the social policy The social policy was not to interfere in socio-religious affair. Not to interfere in the socio-religious affair. The policy was not to interfere in the socio-religious affair. Why not to interfere? Because the company was newly established as a political organization. And India is a very complex country of religion, caste, culture. So any interference at any level that may create a problem for the newly established company. So this is the reason why company decided, because hierarchically ranked structure of the society. If any strata will get disturbed, it will disturb the entire cultural and social perspective of India. So this is the reason why company decided to take the caution that not to go in the social and educational cultural activities, but company was mainly focusing on the consolidation of its territory. So whatever the conquest company had made till date, company was trying to consolidate its position in India. Okay, so not to interfere in the socio-religious affair. This was a policy of the company. Social policy, economic policy, political policy. Yes, you can say the political policy was indirect subordination. After capture of Bengal, you will find company had adopted the policy that is called indirect subordination. And indirect subordination means that is the policy of subsidiary alliance. So political policy was not to interfere in the socio-religious affair, social policy. The political policy was after capture of Bengal, the British adopted the policy of indirect subordination. We have discussed about the subsidiary alliance and all the terms and the principles of the subsidiary alliance. So entirely this social policy, economic policy and political policy, these all constitute the colonial policy. Right. So social and political policy was also intended to strengthen the economic policy of the British. Okay, so this is the phase when the 1757 to 1813. In this phase, only one land revenue experiment was made, that is called permanent settlement. Permanent settlement. Only one land revenue settlement was made, and that is called permanent settlement. So this is called phase of mercantilism. So we have summarized the social, economic and political policy of this phase 1757 to 1813. What is the problem with the sound? So stages of colonialism. Second stage, 1813 to 1860. (1813 to 1860). This is a period which is called period of free trade. Free trade. I hope you remember when we talked about the Charter Act. Then we have seen the circumstances that leading to the passing of the Charter Act of 1813. The first, we talked about the Industrial Revolution of England, and second, the need of some social and religious policies to be framed. Okay, so here, second stage, the policy of free trade. When the Charter Act was passed, monopoly of East India Company was abolished, and other companies of England had entered in India. So, economic policy of this phase, that export promotion, that is to create a market for British industrial product. Market for British industrial product. Export promotion. Market for British industrial product. Indian handicraft. Declined. The policy to discourage declined. Indian handicraft declined. The plan was made to create so Indian handicraft declined. Land revenue policy. Land revenue policy was extended in central India and South India. Central India and South India, like Rayatbari, and Mahalwari. Rayatbari and Mahalwari. Rayatbari and Mahalwari. So Rayatbari settlement was made. We will talk today. Rayatbari settlement was made. That was made in southern India, and Mahalbari settlement in central India. Mahalbari settlement in central India and Rayatbari in southern India. Okay. So economic policy. Economic policy, then we have a political policy of this page. And political policy was a massive expansionist policies. Massive expansionist policies. Massive expansionist policy means that Maratha, Mysore, Punjab, Sindh, all was directly annexed by British. So massive expansionist policy that led to the creation of British Empire. All the states of India was subjugated. Political policy. And then social policy. Social policy that led to the rise of interference in the socio-religious affair. Interference in the socio-religious affair. Interference in the socio-religious affair. Large-scale interference. You can look here that the abolition of sati, 1829, it was a massive debate at that time. 1856, Widow Remarriage Act. Many acts were passed by the British government, and that was intended to directly interfere in the socio-religious affair. Educational policy. English was imposed. English was imposed. So interference in the socio-religious affair. And then we have abolition of sati in 1829. I hope you understand sati. And then Widow Remarriage Act was passed. Widow Remarriage Act 1856. And then educational policy was, the English was imposed. English was imposed. I hope you don't have any writing issue because I have spoken many times. So if you're still not able to write, just let me know, then I will write it clearly. But I have spoken it many times. Educational policy, English was imposed. The medium of education will become English. Second, the socio-religious interference, for example, abolition of sati and Widow Remarriage Act. Widow Remarriage Act. Social policy. So massive expansionist policy had started. Social policy, political policy. And the third stage is of colonialism. Finance capitalism. 1860 to 1947. Finance capitalism. The meaning of finance capitalism, that invest money to earn more money. Like you can imagine that railways, investment was only exclusive to the British investors, and investment was supplemented by guaranteed interest plus share in profit. We have seen the drain of wealth. So massive investment, banking system, insurance. So services was provided from England and massive drain was made through that services. So secondary and tertiary sectors was focused. Industry, banking, these are the areas which got maximum attention during this period. So economic policy was development of secondary and tertiary sector. Secondary and tertiary sectors. So investment was made in industry, banking, insurance, industry, banking, insurance, railways. All these areas was targeted by British, where British can go for the maximum investment in India, and therefore there was a massive exploitation was made. Massive exploitation was made. So economic policy was just to make the things very clear that maximum benefit can be made. So you'll find that in this period it was looking like that India is developing by the Britishers, railway, banking, all these things. But in real sense, there was no development, but it had increased the massive exploitation. There is no development, but it had increased the massive exploitation. So therefore, here the exploitation in third phase is much more than the previous two phases. Even though the British Parliament had taken control over India, but the exploitation remained massively increased. Social policy in this page was not to interfere in the socio-religious or the cautious interference. Cautious interference means very less. So cautiously interfering in socio-religious affair. Cautiously interfering in the socio-religious affair. Cautious interference in the socio-religious affair. Like some marriageable act was passed, age related to marriage, and caste movement was promoted in South India. That is called Dalit movement. The caste movement was promoted in southern India. That is called Dalit movement. So social policy was to promote the caste movement. So caste movement was promoted in southern India, that is in the name of the dividing the Hinduism. Dividing the Hinduism. And then political policy. British started the policy of consolidation and divide and rule. To strengthen the colonial control. British policy was the policy of divide and rule to strengthen the colonial control. So policy of consolidation and the policy of divide and rule. So that actually wanted to complicate the independence of India. In order to complicate independence of India. To complicate the independence of India. So these are the three, in general discussion I made, that the first phase of policy of mercantilism. So mercantilism, you understand that what is mercantilism? When a state itself involved in the profit making. Suppose this is a French East India Company came to India. For what purpose? Mercantilism. French East India Company was a governmental company. So state itself involved in profit making, mercantilism. If the state is monitoring the or guiding the profit making of capitalist also, this is also called mercantilism. Like English East India Company, it was a private organization. It came to India, but the state had given the permission, do's and don'ts, so it is also called mercantilism. So therefore, mercantilism means a state guiding the profit making or a state itself involved in the profit making. This is what the mercantilism is. The finest example is mercantilism. Finest example of mercantilism is, that is a French East India Company and English East India Company. And caste movement, caste movement means like in southern India, lower caste movement had started. That was anti-Brahminical movement, or dominance of the Brahmins was challenged. So like Periyar, temple entry movement, Brahmins did not allow others to enter in the temples, so therefore lower caste started temple entry movement. So these are the movements actually had created the atmosphere of division among the Hinduism, and that was good for the British because it is ultimately a success of the policy of divide and rule. So caste movement had started in South India and Maharashtra. We will study in detail just now because we have finished the economic history and therefore all these dimensions. I hope you have written all these things, and please recap the video and then write it again. So the major portion was the impact of the British economic policies in this chapter. The first, that is related to the drain of wealth. You can see the maximum time, many times we have a question from this segment, or drain of wealth. Commercialization of agriculture was also asked once. So therefore, you have to be very cautious on dealing with such thing, because maybe the entire question could be asked related to what? Drain of wealth or commercialization of agriculture. Entire things has to be managed with. either you get full question from the drain of wealth, or either you get the impact of the British economic policies, then still you have to write 250 words on that. Words on that. So this is called drain of wealth. So now we will start socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. Which is called 19th century Renaissance. 19th century Renaissance. So 19th century Renaissance, the socio-religious reform movement. Socio-religious reform movement. There are three trends of socio-religious reform movement. One is called Reformation. Second is called Revivalism. And third is called status quoism. Reformation, Revivalism, and status quoism. There are three broad trends of socio-religious reform movement. Reformation refers to what? That something good in your society, you must keep it. Something good in other society, you must take it. And the synthesis of both can be summed as reformation. So means not only Indian culture, but the synthesis of Indian and Western culture. Revivalism means nothing to accept from outside. You have a glory, you have a nostalgia of the past. In the past, your Vedic culture was a superior culture. So therefore, we have to model our society on that culture. Such type of sentiments is called revivalism. So reformation is different and revivalism is different. Such type of concept is called revivalism. So reformation is different and revivalism is different. So reformation methods refers to what? That whatever the good in our society, you must take it. Whatever good in your society, you must accept it. Then the synthesis of both the things is called reformation. Revivalism refers to that nostalgia of the past, that means you must go for the Vedic civilization or the glamour of your past culture and then revive that society and then make the modern society on the present society on that society only. The model of that society should be the your past glamorous culture. Status quo means nothing. We don't need to go for the past also, and we don't need to go for the acceptance of other culture also. So whatever is there in society, you must maintain. And then status quoism, it is called status quoism. That means what? That no change, changelessness. So suppose sati in some society, sati is part of our culture. Sati in some society, sati is a part of our culture. Widow marriage, this is a part of our culture. So we don't need to go for such thing. We need to accept the present scenario of societies to be maintained in the same level. So present society should be maintained in the same level. So reformation. This trend was represented by Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Raja Ram Mohan Rai. If you understand the thoughts of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, it is much important ahead than the time. He was the first modern man considered. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai, so Mr. Rai, born in 1772, Radhanagar, Bengal. 1772, Radhanagar, Bengal. No, we cannot go to reactionary. Reactionary means that you oppose the change. This is called reaction. Right? So, we wanted to change, but on the basis of the past. So, this is a revivalism. Revivalism is not at all reactionary. Reactionary means whatever is there, just go for the change. Just go for opposition of that. It's called. We will study all these things in the Anglo-Oriental controversy, Wood's dispatch in educational policy. So we'll take extra time for that. All the educational things, commissions, committees will study separately. So don't paste such thing because it will discontinue our effort. We must go with the continuity of the things, and the syllabus are arranged. So all these things, Wood's dispatch, Hunter Commission, Raleigh Commission, all these things will study. So Radhanagar. We'll have a separate tribal revolt educational policy at the last. The last. Educational policy in the last. So Radhanagar, 1772, Rajaram Mohan Rai born. He studied many languages, and most of his study was confined to religious studies. So most of the study was confined to religious studies. Religious studies. After reading so many religious texts, he finally concluded divine monotheism. Divine monotheism. After so many religious texts, he studied, finally concluded divine monotheism. Divine monotheism means unity of Godhead. God is one. That conclusion was made. So God is one. Unity of Godhead. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he believed in monotheistic doctrine, that unity of God. So he studied many languages, and most of his focus of his study was there, study of religious text. So he studied religious text of many religions, and then finally he concluded a doctrine called divine monotheism. So after understanding the religious text, he said that God is one. That is called unity of Godhead. A unity of Godhead. Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he was pioneer of journalism. He started publication of Sambad Kaumudi. That was a weekly newspaper in Bengali. Sambad Kaumudi, the weekly newspaper in Bengali. Another weekly in Persian, Mirat-ul-Akhbar. This was in Persian and this was in Bengali. So Mirat-ul-Akhbar. So this is in Persian and this is in Bengali. Weekly newspaper. So he was a pioneer of journalism. Sambad Kaumudi and Mirat-ul-Akhbar. He wrote books like Precepts of Jesus. Precepts of Jesus. A guide to peace and happiness. A guide to peace and happiness. Precepts of Jesus. A guide to peace and happiness. He wrote Tuhfat ul Muhabadin. This is in Farsi. Muhabadin. This is a gift to monotheist. Gift to monotheist. Tuhfat ul Muhabadin. This is a gift to monotheist. So these two books was compiled by Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Gift to monotheist. So after so much of the education, so much of the study, he had enlightened thought and he wanted to go for the reforms in Indian society. So social reform was the key agenda of him. So social reform was initiated. If you look at the thoughts of Rajaram Mohan Rai, definitely if you have said that he is a father of modern India, then you need to understand his thought, the social thought of Rajaram Mohan Rai. Rajaram Mohan Rai, he believed in synthesis of Eastern and Western culture. He believed in synthesis of Eastern and Western culture. Synthesis of Eastern and Western culture. He wanted to develop a scientific society in India, scientific society in India, which is based on reason and rationality. Based on reason and rationality. He wanted to create scientific society in India based on reason and rationality. Scientific society in India based on reason and rationality. Rajaram Mohan Rai opposed social evils like child marriage, polygamy, untouchability, rituals, and idol worship. Idol worship. He was dead against Sati. He launched a crusade, Dharm Yudh. He launched a crusade against Sati. And therefore, in 1829, Lord William Bentinck, 1829, Lord William Bentinck passed Abolition of Sati Act. Lord William Bentinck, he was a Governor General. Abolition of Sati Act declaring Sati illegal. Declaring Sati illegal. Abolition of Sati Act declaring Sati illegal. This act was first implemented in Bengal Presidency and later on in Bombay and Madras Presidency. Bombay and Madras Presidency. This act is also known as Regulation 17. This act is also known as Regulation 17. So Regulation 17 is actually related to abolition of Sati Act. So first it was implemented in one Bengal Presidency, later in Bombay and Madras Presidency. Related to religious scripture, regarding Vedas, he rejected the infallibility of Vedas. Infallibility, you understand, something which is not wrong. So he rejected the infallibility of Vedas. Rejected infallibility of Vedas. Means he considered that it's not like Vedas are not wrong. There is something wrong in Vedas, but he accepted Vedas. So he rejected the infallibility of Vedas. Infallibility of Vedas. And he rejected Puran completely. According to him, Puran had created mysticism in Indian society. Puran had created mysticism in Indian society. But he accepted Upanishad. He considered Upanishad as full of scientific values. He considered Upanishad as full of scientific values. So he accepted Upanishad. He considered Upanishad as full of scientific values. So therefore he believed in the Vedanta doctrine. Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he believed in Vedanta doctrine. Vedanta doctrine. He established Vedanta College at Calcutta. And introduced the philosophy of Voltaire and Montesquieu. Voltaire and Montesquieu. Introduced the philosophy of Voltaire and Montesquieu. So believed in Vedantic principle. So established Vedant College at Calcutta. Voltaire's separation of religion from the state. Separation of religion from state. Separation of religion from state. Montesquieu. The separation of powers between executive, judiciary and legislature. So separation and balance of power between executive, judiciary and legislature. So Montesquieu advocated for separation and balance of power between judiciary, executive and legislature. Judiciary, executive and legislature. Separation and balance of power between judiciary, executive and legislature. So Voltaire and Montesquieu. Separation and balance of power. Vedant College at Calcutta. So Rajaram Mohan Rai, if you look at the social policy, he was very much having the enlightened ideas based on modern and rational and scientific thinking. So regarding Vedas, he said, the Vedas are not infallible. Infallibility means nothing wrong. But he said that it's not. Vedas are not infallible. There is something wrong in Vedas related to the Varnas and all, he pointed. And secondly, he said, Puran is full of mysticism. The supernaturalism is projected for anything. So Puran is full of mysticism. Supernaturalism is projected. And third is Upanishad. And he considered Upanishad as a full scientific values. So word infallibilities means there's nothing wrong, completely correct. So he rejected that theory that Vedas are not infallible. There is something wrong in the Vedas. So rejected the infallibilities of Vedas. Vedant College at Calcutta. Voltaire, Montesquieu. Okay. So this is the social thought of Rajaram Mohan Rai. So why we should call him the modern man? Because of the deep social thought related to him. Then economic thought of Rajaram Mohan Rai. Look, obviously he had complete understanding about the India and the British economic system, and there is process of interdependency also. Raja Ram Mohan Rai of the view that Indian economy should not be dependent on England. So he advocated the concept of self-reliant. Indian economy should be self-reliant without any interdependency, without any dependency on England. So he said that if there could be industrial revolution in England, similar industrial revolution can be in India also. So his demand was that why don't we go for the establishment of heavy industries in India, similar to that of the English industrial system. So this is how his main concern was, that is rotating around how to make India economically self-reliant. He said that there are problems in the trade. So he demanded that those cloth coming from England to India, there should be imposition of extra duty so that Indian industry could be protected. So Indian industry is facing difficult because of the British goods are cheaper. So there should be extra duty should be imposed on British cloth. Then he said that although he born in a Jamindar family, but he said that the rent taken by Jamindar from the tenant should be fixed. It should not vary and should not be very exploitative as well. Should not be exploitative as well. So economic policy was rotating around that how to make India economically self-reliant. So economic policy, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he wanted to make India economically self-reliant. Therefore, he demanded scientific revolution in India and industrial revolution in India like English industrial revolution. Like English industrial revolution. He demanded scientific temperament among the Indians that would lead to industrialization of India. Scientific temperament among the Indians that would lead to industrialization of India. Raja Ram Mohan Rai wanted establishment of heavy industries. Establishment of heavy industries. He demanded imposition of import duty on foreign cloth. Import duty on foreign cloth so that domestic industries could be protected. Domestic industries could be protected. Domestic industries could be protected. He was in favor of property right to women. property right to women. Women must get the property right. He demanded fixation of maximum rent by the Jamindar to stop the exploitation of tenants. Fixation of maximum rent by the Jamindar to stop the exploitation of tenants. To stop the exploitation of tenants. To stop the exploitation of tenants. So, his economic thought and concept of economic self-reliant created economic nationalism in India. Economic nationalism in India. His economic thought and concept of economic self-reliant had created economic nationalism in India. Political thought. He believed in democratic temperament and he admired the democratic institutions of England. He believed in democratic temperament and admired the democratic institution of England. And admire the democratic institution of England. Democratic temperament and admire the democratic institutions of England. He supported French Revolution. French Revolution. He demanded establishment of constitutionalism in India. Constitutionalism in India. Demanded establishment of constitutionalism in India. He demanded freedom of press. Freedom of press. Demanded freedom of press. Indians should also be incorporated in higher services. Indians should also be incorporated in higher services. Indians were not considered fit for higher services, but Indians should also incorporated in higher services. So Indians should get the political right like England. Indians should get the political right like in England. Therefore, its concept led to the rise of political nationalism. Political nationalism. So you have seen that economic nationalism, political nationalism, all started developing in due course of time. So the Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he should be rightly called as a father of modern India. Why he should be rightly called as a father of modern India? So political thought. So we have seen the social thought, economic thought, political thought of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Political thought of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. So this is how the fundamentally you can prove that he is a father of modern India. Look, one question you can try at home. Very much when India became independent 1947, then Prime Minister Nehru, he had responsibility to carry forward the nation with the legacy of Indian national movement. So do one thing. You have studied the social, economic and political thought of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. So on that very basis, in the 20th century, try to create that Nehru was architect of modern India. So if Raja Ram Mohan Rai is father of modern India, Nehru should be rightly called as architect of modern India. And then try to draw the parallel line between the Raja Ram Mohan Rai and the Nehru. The social thought of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, social thought of Nehru. Economic thought of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, economic thought of Nehru. And similarly, you go to the political thought as well. So therefore, try to create the parallel line to justify the thing that if Raja Ram Mohan Rai is a father of modern India, then Nehru should be rightly called as architect of modern India. This is not very difficult. The social thought, the Hindu Code Bill, of course democratic, and second, third, 5-year plan, these all discuss. This you need to create. So, social thought. Vedantic principle. Look, title of Raja to Ram Mohan Rai, it was given by Mughal ruler Akbar II. Akbar II, he gave the title of Raja to Ram Mohan Rai. Akbar II, he was getting the pension, but his pension was very low, very less. Considering the inflation rate, it was not sufficient. So therefore, Akbar II asked Raja Ram Mohan Rai, his name was Ram Mohan Rai, to come, and then Akbar II gave the title of Raja to Ram Mohan Rai. So Mughal ruler, although it is confined to Lal Killa, even they are very difficult hand to mouth in Lal Killa. So, but instead they give the title to others, Raja. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai. The title was given to Mughal ruler by Mughal ruler Akbar II. So Akbar II persuaded him to go to England to discuss the pension issues. And then he went to England and died there. So 1833, he died in Bristol. Raja Ram Mohan Rai. So Mr. Rai died in Bristol. Raja Ram Mohan Rai died in Bristol. So Akbar II gave the title of Raja to Ram Mohan Rai. So after death of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, there was a leadership crisis in Brahmo Samaj. Now you can remember many facts from here. Just keep focusing and keep on rolling your hand on the notebook. If you don't write, then you are doing the mistake. Side by side. So after reminding the video, you can write also, but here it's the right time to ask. Right time to write as well. So after death of Raja Ram Mohan Rai, there was leadership crisis. In Brahmo Samaj. Leadership crisis in Brahmo Samaj. There was leadership crisis in Brahmo Samaj. So Debendranath Tagore, he joined the Brahmo Samaj. Debendranath Tagore, he joined the Brahmo Samaj. Debendranath Tagore, he joined the Brahmo Samaj. Debendranath Tagore, he was having his own organization, Tattvabodhini Sabha. Tattvabodhini Sabha. He published Tattvabodhini Patrika. To highlight the ideals of Brahmo Samaj. Tattvabodhini Patrika to highlight the ideals of Brahmo Samaj. Ideals of Brahmo Samaj. Tattvabodhini Patrika to highlight the ideals of Brahmo Samaj. Then after some time, Keshav Chandra Sen, Another entrepreneur personality of Bengal, K.C. Sen. He joined Brahm Samaj. He made Brahm Samaj an All India organization. He made Brahm Samaj an All India organization. K.C. Sen, an All India organization. Because of his effort, Prarthana Samaj was established. Prarthana Samaj was almost having the same thought. Prarthana Samaj was established by Atma Ram Pandurang in Maharashtra. Atmaram Pandurang had established the Prarthana Samaj in Maharashtra. It was with the inspiration of the Kesab Chandra Sen. Look, these are the facts you can remember here only. Otherwise, I can refer you some notes also. But keep writing and then focus that how you can remember this. So, Kesab Chandra Sen, Debendranath Tagore. These two was leading the Brahm Samaj after death of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. Debendranath Tagore. So very soon you will find that the differences, earlier they were very good coordinator, they coordinated each other. But very soon the differences between Debendranath Tagore and Kesab Chandra Sen had developed. Differences between Rabindranath Tagore and Kesab Chandra Sen had developed. So this difference was related to the relation between Brahmoism and Hinduism, right? Brahmoism and Hinduism. So Debendranath Tagore he said that the ideals of Brahm Samaj is nothing but a reformed Hinduism. So Brahmoism is equivalent to Hinduism. Brahmoism is equivalent to Hinduism. No difference between Brahmoism and Hinduism. But Kesab Chandra Sen, he said that Brahmoism is a separate religion and is a very different from Hinduism. So Brahmoism is a separate religion, very different from Hinduism. So Brahmoism is very different from Hinduism. Like Hinduism is a religion, Brahmoism is also a separate religion. So Brahmoism is very different from Hinduism. So obviously, after some times, this led to the split in Brahm Samaj. So Debendranath Tagore, his organization now known as Adi Brahm Samaj. And here we call Brahm Samaj of India. Adi Brahm Samaj or Brahm Samaj of India. So this is something wrong with the Brahm Samaj, that both the organization had messed up, and that resulted in a split. So split in Brahm Samaj. So Keshav Chandra Sen established Brahm Samaj of India, and then here Adi Brahm Samaj. Adi means Purana, old. Adi Brahm Samaj. Okay, then look at the Keshav Chandra Sen continued his mode of reformation, that his demand to the British government was that we need to take the thing for passing of marriageable act, marriageable age. So after the effort of Keshav Chandra Sen, in 1872, Civil Marriage Act was passed, which is also known as Brahma Marriage Act. The marriageable age for the boys and girls to 18 and 14. The minimum age has to be 18 and 14. This is a marriageable age for the boys and the girls. (1872) Civil Marriage Act. So because of the effort of Keshav Chandra Sen, this Civil Marriage Act was passed. But Keshav Chandra Sen himself violated this act. He married his underage daughter with Maharaja of Kuch Behar. And obviously some of followers became very angry. The leader himself violated the Brahm Marriage Act. So Keshav Chandra Sen himself violated the Brahm Marriage Act. Violated the Brahm Marriage Act. He married his underage daughter with Maharaja of Kuch Behar. Maharaja of Kuch Behar. So therefore some of his followers left him and then established Sadharan Brahma Samaj. Sadharan Brahma Samaj. Sadharan Brahma Samaj. So that Sadharan Brahma Samaj, it was established by Shivnath Shastri. Shivnath Shastri. So look at the many organizations that came into after Pratna Samaj, Adi Brahm Samaj of India, and now here one more, that is Sadharan Brahma Samaj. Pandit Shivnath Shastri. So many organizations had created thereafter. Keshav Chandra Sen, very entrepreneur. And because of his effort, the Brahma Samaj had become All India organization. But very soon it became irrelevant because of the multiple division and the compromised ideology. So anyway, the Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he successfully created the consciousness by his thought, very fundamental in nature, the political thought, economic thought and the social thought. And then this thought led to the rise of two kinds of nationalism. One is the political nationalism and second is the economic nationalism. He wanted to make India economically self-reliant. This is the basic formula. So he wanted to make India economically self-reliant. So obviously when Indians had an idea of economic self-reliance, that it means in comparison with England, that is called economic nationalism. Economic nationalism. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai rightly should be called as the father of modern India. Then second trend of the social religious reform movement, we have seen the three: Reformation, Revivalism and Status Quoism. The second trend is related to revivalism. Revivalism. One student was calling it reactionary. No, not reactionary. Reactionary means any kind of things to be opposed, but it's not reactionary. Revivalism. This revivalism trend, it was represented by Dayanand Saraswati. Revivalism, I told you, to understand that revivalism refers to what? That refers to whatever the glamorous phase of the Indian culture was there in the past, we must maintain that. So present society should be modeled or should be based on that nostalgia of the past. So that nostalgia of the past has to be maintained. According to Dayanand Saraswati, the Vedic society was an ideal society. It was evil-free society. We can find in the Vedic society there is no social evils. But why these social evils developed in the society? It's mainly because of contact with the foreign cultures. So mainly because of the contact with the foreign cultures. So therefore, the Raja Ram Mohan Rai or the Dayanand Saraswati, so the which act? Abolition of Sati, 1829, Widow Remarriage Act, 1856. Then we have Brahm Marriage Act, 1872. So these are the years. So revivalism. Revivalism, I told you that we must maintain the whole thing on the basis of Vedic society. The evils generated later, the evils, that is child marriage, polygamy, sati, widows, all these things are there not in the Vedic society. So it had generated later. Revivalism. This trend was represented by Dayanand Saraswati. His original name is Mool Shankar. Mool Shankar, original name. Born in 1824 at Morbi. Morbi is always in the news in recent days. So born in a village, Morbi, 1824, Mool Shankar. Yes, you can look at in the notes also, everywhere available. So wherever you want, just put that Pratna Samaj, Adi Brahm Samaj. So Mool Shankar, 1824, Morbi. So from Morbi, Gujarat, Mool Shankar then came to Mathura. In contact with famous Vedic scholar, in Mathura, Mool Shankar came in contact with a famous Vedic scholar, Brijanand. He was a great Vedic sant, Brijanand, great Vedic sant. What are the ideals of Brahm Samaj? What we have studied since last 1 hour? The social ideals, political ideals, economic ideals. And this is the reason why what was his program, it was established. So discussion was that what should be the model of Indian society. The debate was there whether British is trying to impose Christianity or not. So many modern entrepreneurs came forward and they suggested their ways. So one way is the reformation presented by Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and ideals, social ideals, political ideals, economic ideals. So pursue the objective of this, he established the Brahm Samaj. Brijanand. He came in contact with a famous Vedic scholar, Brijanand in Mathura. After learning Vedas, he became Dayanand Saraswati. Dayanand Saraswati. He wrote 3 books. Satyarth Prakash, Ved Bhashya, Ved Bhash Bhumika, So Satyarth Prakash, Vedbhashya and Vedbhashya Bhumika. These are the three books written by Dayananda Saraswati. All are commentaries on Vedas. All are commentaries on Vedas. Commentaries on Vedas. So even had a discussion that the origin of Aryans, Satyarth Prakash, Vedbhashya and Vedbhashya Bhumika. So Dayananda Saraswati, look at his social thought. Social thought. Dayananda Saraswati believed in that there is no need of learning anything from the West, but we should model our present Indian society on the basis of Vedic society. So collectively, you can say that this is the time when the many Britishers, think tank, political thinkers, they justify British rule in India on the basis of Westman hypothesis. What is the Westman hypothesis? That it is the responsibility of the white men to teach the lesson of civilization to the barbarians. So the superiority of the West was proved by them in order to justify the British rule in India. What I said, it is the responsibility of the white man to teach the lesson of civilization to the barbarians. They call the Eastern barbarians, West is superior. So this is the time when Dayananda Saraswati challenged that we are not barbarians, we have a high grade social cultural thing. And our Vedic society was a great society where there was no social evils. You know, in Vedic society there is no caste system, there is no child marriage, polygamy, idol worship, rituals, untouchability. You know, idol worship and ritual untouchability had a very close connection. Rituals always create the concept of purity and impurity. Rituals means pure and impure has to be taken into great care. So how much ritualistic will be, that much concept of purity and impurity will be there. And idol worship make the ritual perfect. So both combinedly generated the concept of untouchability. Both combinedly had generated the concept of untouchability. So untouchability had generated later on, which was not there in the Vedic society because there was no rituals and no idol worship. So no sati, no widow. So therefore he considered Vedic society as an ideal society. So he said that we should go back to Vedas and Vedic society should be model of present Indian socio-cultural thing. So this is something which is called nostalgia of the past and the proud on the glamour of the Vedic culture. So that had created the cultural nationalism in India. When we challenged the Westman hypothesis. But at the same time, he started Shuddhi movement. The Shuddhi movement, that is reconversion of those Hindus who converted to other religion, who converted to other religions. So it's called Shuddhi movement, reconversion to those Hindus who converted to other religion. This is called Shuddhi movement. So that gave apprehension in the minds of Islamists and the Christians. Conversion always gave apprehension in the minds of the Muslims and the Christians. So it had created communalism. So Shuddhi movement definitely created the communal atmosphere in India. Shuddhi movement had created communal atmosphere in India. So the social thought of Dayananda Saraswati. Let's talk about the social thought. Dayananda Saraswati, he considered Vedic society as an ideal society. Vedic society is an ideal society. Where there was no social evils. There was no social evils. There was no social evils. He rejected the theory of synthesis of Eastern and Western culture. He rejected the theory of synthesis of Eastern and Western culture. Eastern and Western culture. He rejected the Westman hypothesis. Rejected Westman hypothesis. Westman hypothesis said that it is white man's burden to teach the lesson of civilization to the barbarians. To teach the lesson of civilization to the barbarians. Dayananda Saraswati said that we don't need to learn from the West because our Vedic culture is a superior culture. We don't need to learn from the West because Vedic culture is a superior culture. In Vedic society, there was no social evils. Social evils had created because of contact with the foreign cultures. Because of contact with the foreign cultures. Social evils had created because of the contact with the foreign cultures. Contact with the foreign cultures. So we should model our society. We should model our society on the basis of Vedic society. So he gave the call back to Vedas. Back to Vedas. So he gave the call back to Vedas. So therefore, his ideas led to the rise of cultural nationalism. Cultural nationalism. He started Shuddhi movement. Shuddhi movement. That is a reconversion of those Hindus who converted to other religion. Shuddhi movement. That is a reconversion of those Hindus who converted to other religion. He wanted to create homogeneous culture in India based on Vedic culture. He wanted to create homogeneous culture in India based on Vedic culture. Based on Vedic culture. Homogeneous culture in India based on Vedic culture. But the Shuddhi movement had created apprehension in the minds of Muslims and the Christians. Shuddhi movement had created apprehension in the minds of Muslims and the Christians. Therefore, it had generated communalism in Indian society. It had generated communalism in Indian society. Communalism in Indian society. Okay, so let me see. I think I have answered your question. What is mercantilism? I told you. Caste movement, yes. No, reactionary word you could not use. Reactionaries are status quoist, can be reactionary, but not reformist, revivalist. And Wood's Dispatch, Anglo-Oriental controversy, we will discuss in the educational policy. We will study in detail from the 1757 onward. Infallibility of Vedas, yes, okay, done it. Then those of the creation of the split in Brahma, years of split. Okay, you can see this is not a difficult task. What are the ideals of the Brahma Samaj? And we find that what is the ideals of the Brahma Samaj? The Brahma Samaj, the actually ideals is Raja Ram Mohan Rai, social thought, economic and political ideals. And in order to pursue these ideals, he established Brahma Samaj in 1828. So Raja Ram Mohan Rai, he established Brahma Samaj in 1828. To pursue the social, economic and political ideals, he established Brahma Samaj. To pursue the social, economic and political objectives, he established Brahma Samaj. So we will continue with the Dayananda Saraswati and his most important ideals connecting to the various thoughts tomorrow. So that's all for the day, and have a nice day.